Welcome to Lair the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, the results from our singers community poll questions. This is where I took a bunch of bands that have had a few different singers and I asked you to pick who your favorite singer was from that band. A difficult thing to do because a lot of these bands had really great singers. Before I get started though, I just made a video about my new Spotify podcast radio show. It's going to be a companion to the YouTube channel here where I get to talk and play full songs because it's through Spotify. There's no copyright issues. That's why I don't play music here on the channel. I don't want to get copyright strikes and stuff like that. So head on over to Spotify, and by the time this episode comes up on YouTube here, there will be a podcast episode where I will pick a song for each one of the singers that wins in their category. I will pick a song that goes with them, one of their songs from their time in that band. So please check that out. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, let's get into the poll questions. Like I said, this wasn't easy, and but in the name of fun, you have to pick somebody. I'm going to pick somebody. So our first question was, who is your favorite Rainbow singer? 326 votes. Ronnie James Dio pretty much runs away with this with 87% of the vote. Jolan Turner was next with 6%, Graham Bonnet with 5%, and Doogie White with 2%. Didn't surprise me. I mean, I love all eras of Rainbow. I even did a video on In Defense of the Jolan Turner era of Rainbow, but there's no denying that those first three Rainbow albums are classics, absolutely incredible. Ritchie Blackmore's Rainbow, Rising, Long Live Rock and Roll, Gates of Babylon, Stargazer, Man on the Silver Mountain. I mean, just so many great songs. Ronnie just is amazing on those albums. So this didn't surprise me. It would have been my vote, although, like I said, I'm a huge fan of all eras, and I'm a big fan of Graham Bonnet. I think anything that Graham Bonnet gets involved in, he elevates the project to another level. His work with Michael Schenker, his work here with Rainbow, which unfortunately was only one album, Down to Earth, his work with Impellitteri, his band Alcatraz. I just think Graham is an amazing singer and songwriting. Love his lyrics, love his melody lines. All right, next was, who is your favorite Uriah Heep singer? 203 votes. David Byron runs away with this at 73%. John Lawton had 15% of the vote. Bernie Shaw had 8%. Peter Goldby had 3%, and John Sloman had 1%. This one didn't surprise me either. My vote would have been David Byron. He's the singer in the classic era of the band. My two favorite Uriah Heep albums, he's on Demons and Wizards and The Magician's Birthday. I actually think David Byron is a very underrated singer. When people talk about the great singers, hard rock singers of the 70s, you'll hear Ian Gillan, you'll hear, Ronnie, but David Byron very rarely gets mentioned, and I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just because Uriah Heep never had quite the success that like Led Zeppelin did and Robert Plant with Zeppelin. But I think he's an amazing singer, and those albums are just great. So it doesn't surprise me that David Byron runs away with it. Bernie Shaw, 8% of the vote. That's cool. He's the current singer with the band. He's been with them for quite some time now. And the last so many Uriah Heep albums have been really, really strong, really great. So John Lawton, actually, Bernie Shaw was in third place. John Lawton got second place with 15%. And his time with the band, Firefly, what was the Innocent Victim and Fallen Angel. I'm not really a big fan of Fallen Angel. I do really like Firefly, though. And Peter Goldby, I like the albums that Peter Goldby's on. But for me, hands down, it's David Byron. Okay, let's see what we got next. Who is your favorite Van Halen singer? 305 votes. David Lee Roth steals the show here, 81%, Sammy Hagar with 19%. I think we can all agree that Sammy Hagar is technically the better singer, but David Lee Roth, he was there for all those classic early albums, all those great songs. And Dave, actually, I feel like Dave gets a bad rap sometimes as a singer. I think some of that is just from his live performances where he's doing so many kicks and flips and everything, he has trouble getting the words out. But in the studio, I thought he's a great singer. And what really works for Dave is he has a ton of character and charisma and personality. that just explodes out of those songs, and just the band in general. He just left such a mark on those early Van Halen records and so many classic songs, but he has a really cool, unique voice. The way he does those high shrieking things, the way he can do the sort of the more spoken word type things, and just the way he phrases his lines and everything, I think is just great. So it doesn't surprise me that Dave ran away with it. I really only know the 5150 album with Sammy Hagar, and then I just sort of lost touch with Van Halen, and it's really not because of Sammy. I just think where they went musically just didn't interest me as much with that during the Sammy Hagar era, so, you know, that probably plays a part in it also. So David Lee Roth, 81%. Next, who is your favorite AC/DC singer? 304 votes. This surprised me a little bit. Bon Scott got 75% of the votes. Brian Johnson got 25. Now, I wasn't surprised that Bon won. Bon is one of my favorite singers of all time. He's one of the coolest frontmen ever in rock and roll. But I really thought that Brian Johnson would have. I thought it would have been a little closer. I figured Bon would win. Bon would have gotten my vote. But there's you know, when you think about it, Brian Johnson has been in the band since 1980. I mean, that's 41 years at this point, and he has a ton of classic songs. You Shook Me All Night Long, For Those About to Rock, Thunderstruck, Who Made Who. I mean, he's had a lot of big radio hits and everything with the band, but Bon, sort of like David Lee Roth, he just has so much character. His lyrics are just great. His personality has such a unique voice. And man, that era of AC/DC is just so awesome. Every AC/DC album with Bon on it is amazing. Power Age, Highway to Hell. I mean, just amazing stuff. Bon is one of my favorite hard rock singers of all time. So he would have definitely got my vote. I just thought it might have been a little bit closer with Brian Johnson, but Bon runs away with it. Right, let's see here. All right, here's a big one. Who is your favorite Black Sabbath singer? Now, I've said Black Sabbath is my favorite band of all time, so this is a hard one to pick. 355 votes. Ozzy got 55%. Ronnie James Dio got 38%. Ian Gillan and Tony Martin tied with 3%, and Glenn Hughes got 1%. Not totally surprised here. This is probably the closest between two singers out of all the questions we've had so far. If I had to pick, I would probably go with Ozzy, just because I love that 70s era of the band so much. They were so creative. Every album different. Ozzy has such a unique voice that fit the mood and the tone of Black Sabbath. And he had 8 albums with the band, 9 if you want to include 13. Ronnie had 4 if you want to include Heaven and Hell, The Devil You Know, as a Black Sabbath album, which it basically is in everything but name. But again, Ozzy, he just has that voice that fit Black Sabbath. So many great albums from the 70s. So hard to pick. I love Black Sabbath. This one was really difficult because for me it's really they're basically tied for me, because I love both singers. But if you forced me, I would pick Ozzy. Okay, this is the last one. Who is your favorite Iron Maiden singer? This kind of shocked me. Thought this would be closer. Bruce Dickinson takes it with 78%. Paul Di'Anno, 28%, and Blaze Bayley got 1%. Glad to see Blaze. Blaze got a vote there. The first 2 Iron Maiden albums are amazing, and maybe it's because there's only 2 albums with Paul that he only got to 20% of the vote. I mean, Bruce Dickinson, one of the top 3 heavy metal vocalists of all time. If you wanted to say he's the greatest metal vocalist of all time, I wouldn't argue with you. There's no denying the classic albums, Peace of Mind, Number of the Beast. The band is still going strong. Senjutsu, amazing album. Bruce still sounds great to this day. An incredible frontman and personality and Renaissance man that's involved and does so many things. So it doesn't surprise me. Bruce would have gotten my vote also. I thought maybe Di'Anno would rank a little bit higher because those first 2 Iron Maiden albums, I love them, and I think Di'Anno has a really, really cool voice. But Bruce runs away with it, it would have been my vote also. All right, there you go. There's the results of our community poll questions here for the singers. Thank you to everybody who participated for all your comments. If you want to leave some more comments down below, please do. Head on over to Spotify. Look for Lair of the Alchemist on Spotify, so you can hear the songs that I pick now for each one of the singers that won in these categories. I will pick a song and play it there on the podcast with some commentary in between. Head on over there. Follow me on Spotify. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.